Oh, this is gonna be a gas!
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of WandaVision. This is Marvel Studios' first original series, and it stars Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Kathryn, Hahn, Teyonah, Parris, Dennings, Randall, and if you think you know those names, you definitely do, because a lot of these people are from the grander Marvel Cinematic Universe of films, and now Marvel is here to tell a very unique story on Disney Plus in their first original series. I was saying this series is directed by Shakman, and I'll break it down for you guys right now. This review is going to be just on the first 3 episodes of the show. So big shout out and thanks to Disney Studios Canada for letting us review this and giving us access to the show to watch. And we're going to be very vague. Just a forewarning, we're going to be very vague about what we're talking about. There are no spoilers here. There are no story-specific details here. We just want to really give you our first reactions to the show. And of course, joining me on this episode of the movie podcast is Shahbaz. Hello, Shahbaz.
Hey, everybody.
And Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Hello.
So WandaVision is finally here, and let me tell you, I jumped out of my chair when this was sent to us to watch, because speaking for myself, and I know we all are giant MCU fans, knowing that the MCU is finally branching out into television and not just, we've seen shows that have said they're part of the grander Marvel universe, like the Netflix shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and of course Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but this is really the first time that we're seeing a show that is directly created to really run alongside the films and also bring in the talent from the larger movies, and it really feels like we're seeing a continuation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Phase 4 is now kicking off with a television show. Just overall, guys, I'm going to start off with Shay. What were your first impressions of WandaVision as a whole? So these first 3 episodes that we've seen, we'll talk about each episode, but what's been your impression so far of the show?
You know what? You would think making a series, or at least the first couple episodes, about older technology and an older style, they would probably put less money towards it. But the show's production value in those first 3 episodes is so phenomenal. I really felt like I was transported back into the time of watching shows like this. Like I'd watch I Love Lucy at home with my family, or it'd be on TV, or even the Brady Bunch. So when I'm having trouble discerning between when both shows were made, that's how good of a job this show is doing, I think, visually, but also following in its aesthetics. It's very true to nature.
Yeah, I think just like what you were saying, Shay, what each episode of the show has done amazingly so far is really make you believe that it's a show of its time. Mm-hmm. And it's perfect in that sense that it's almost imperfect, because things like the special effects, like we've seen in the trailers, where it's like, oh, let's do like a jump cut of magic, almost like a very like Bewitched thing happening, or I Dream of Jeannie, where things are kind of floating at them. It doesn't look perfect. It has that kind of hokey look to it, like you would, like a show at that time would have. And it's that attention to detail that's really just throwing me in and really immersing me in that world. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. I think the chemistry between Elizabeth and Wes is fantastic. We really didn't see them much on screen, other than a couple of scenes in the Avengers and so on. But this is the first time we really get to watch them act as a couple and grow and there's this unique element to their chemistry, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm digging this show. Like this is, when I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, man, where are they going to go with this? And for me, I like the pacing. I like the story that it's telling. There is this mystery behind every episode, and you're trying to figure out what is happening. And even as a comic book lover, that Wanda has this mystique to her, this reality bending portion. So you don't know if she's even sane in this series, if she's controlled by someone else. It's really, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you mentioned Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, like their chemistry together is just, it's so charming. Like they work so well together. And of course, this is going back to both of their introductions in, the MCU and Age of Ultron, and obviously with Vision being first appearing really as Jarvis in the Iron Man films. Like, it's such a testament to where the MCU is right now that you're like, you know what? I buy these these Avengers characters. They're in the sitcom world now, and it's just a testament to what the MCU can be now to really adapt to tell the stories that they want to. And I think Elizabeth and Paul they're just so fun together, and especially Paul Bettany, like his acting ability and just his physical comedy is just so fun to watch. And especially in the second episode, again, not giving anything away, but there's a scene in the second episode of the show where he just really gets to have a lot of fun, and you could tell that they had a lot of fun making the show.
Paul Bettany is one of those actors that, I love seeing him in anything that he does, but the normal things that I see him do are very dramatic films. And then you come here with this really, really awesome comedic portrayal of what, those actors were like back in the day, like Dick Van Dyke or something like that. And Paul Bettany's just killing it. He's so believable in his role, and the chemistry between him and Elizabeth Olsen, it's so genuine, and you love every minute that they're on screen, and thankfully they're on the screen a lot.
Yeah, it really is their show. And sitcoms of the time, sitcoms were such like shows like I Love Lucy and I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, and shows like that, like a Dick Van Dyke Show. Like, they're such monumental shows because, again, going back to the 50s and 60s, we didn't have the millions of channels and streaming services that we do now. No. So when people were watching those shows, it really was like they were inviting people into their home to watch it. And Elizabeth Olsen especially really she embodies that Lucille Ball, that Elizabeth Montgomery feel that she is a person of that time, and she does such a good job of talking like them and acting like them, and everything's kind of bigger because it's a sitcom and you have to play to the audience. And you could just tell they have such a great relationship with one another, and seeing how we saw a lot of them obviously with the drama of Infinity War that happened. Now you're just seeing a much more playful side of them, and it's so fun to see that.
And one thing I noticed that, and maybe it's just me, is there's an eeriness to like black and white sitcoms and
for sure.
Sitcoms from the past. It's almost like this is not how they lived, and it just plays on the story of these two characters as well. It's like, no, this is. And they know there's something off about what they're living in. And even when growing up, when I would watch I Love Lucy, I'm like, man, people don't live like that. And it's just this funny way of how they can take those storylines and kind of like combine them into this really cool sitcom platform. And what I do like is each episode is almost like a different period of a sitcom.
Exactly.
Right? So, and things change so drastically, and you're like, man, do they realize what's happening to them? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think sorry, Shay. No, I was going to say, to build off of what
you know what, man?
No, Shay,
please. Go, and then I'll go right after.
No. Please, I insist.
Okay. I was just going to say that I honestly did not think that WandaVision would scratch my itch of the MCU, because we've been waiting a little bit longer than normal for something in the MCU.
Definitely.
But these first 3 episodes are really filling in that hole that I didn't think that it could do. So that's just the thing, how much I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, and to build off of what you were saying, Shay, and what Anthony was saying, is that going back to each episode's kind of been looking at a different an era of television. You see that evolve in every episode. So the first episode has more of that sitcom feel, where it's like the different camera setups, where you'll see in maybe the second and third episode just the way it's shot. So it's such an attention to detail that I love, that they're not just using that time era to tell the story, but they're using the form of storytelling they relied on as well too. And it's so unique. And again, not to compare it back to another superhero film that came out in December that was set in a specific time period, but this is what you would kind of want from when you're gonna do a show that takes place or a movie that takes place in a certain era, you really want to embrace all of those things that kind of came from that era that makes it feel worthy of that time. And I weirdly enough, of all things for this to remind me of, Mank also came to mind, because Mank is also a modern film that is made to look and feel like it was from that era. So it uses not just the visuals and the acting, but also the actual technology. And this feels like when you're watching each episode, it's like it's from an episode of The Brady Bunch or an episode of Dick Van Dyke or I Love Lucy or what have you. It's been really cool to watch it so far.
And it gets dark. Like, there are scenes where you're like, whoa, where did that, the sitcom part just disappears, and it becomes very, not scary, but dark and eerie. There's
Definitely.
a show that it reminds me of, and I can't figure out the name, and I totally forgot about it, but we'll find it. It's like a combination of that and what you guys just said. While you guys talk, I'll find this show.
And it's not it's a show, right? It's not like Pleasantville or anything like that, correct?
No, it's a show. And it's one of those first HBO shows that came out. I'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Don't worry. But Shay, so far, also, like, it's been such. There's kind of in the background, something is going wrong. Any like you guys were saying, anytime Wanda really started to question the reality, almost like an Inception, when they're trying to remember where you were in a dream or how you got there. It's almost like that happens, and Wanda is just like, you know what? We're out of this, and it like rewinds, or it'll do something to like kind of jump cuts back to how it's like she's really just kind of creating this ideal world that she wants to be in. Yeah. It's really cool. It's very, very unique. Not anything like we've really seen before, and especially in the MCU, where we are 13 years into this franchise. We're 23 movies deep, but still they are finding unique and fun ways to tell their stories. It's really, really cool.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Yes,
man. It's like Twin Peaks. That's what it feels like. Twin Peaks meets, I Love Lucy and all the sitcoms from the past.
Is there so right now we've seen a couple of the different eras. Is there something that what are you hoping? What are our hopes for the show right now? Because we know things aren't what they seem. We know things are going to, as we've heard Kevin Feige say that, this is going to really lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and potentially Spider-Man 3. Where do you think things go from here?
You know what? I don't know. I wish I could say with some clarity, but the show is really throwing me for a curve. I have no idea what to expect for every episode. Where it begins, I'm like, oh, maybe it'll end here, but honestly, it doesn't, and that's why I'm enjoying it, because I cannot predict what is going to happen.
I feel like I find myself wondering if Vision is even alive at certain points, or it's like she created a version of him, because he died, right? Like we saw him die.
We saw him die, yeah, in Infinity War.
He's not like he died before the snap. And the stone was gone from him. So, and from a lot of the trailers that we see that stone. What's his stone? The yellow
Mind Stone.
Mind Stone. You see the Mind Stone appear in a lot of the trailers. So I'm wondering if somehow it ends up back to her. I don't know, because when they destroy the glove, those stones disappear, or they are spread out through the universe, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so Thanos, we know in this world, he destroyed the stones. He destroyed them. He reduced them to atoms. So whatever that means now, we don't know what this can mean. Is the stone back somehow? Is this all in her head? It's
she create the stone again.
Right, we don't know, because she is a product of the stone. We know, like, traditionally she's a mutant in the comics, but this was a very different. Like, this was different how her kind of creation was done in the MCU. So who knows where it could lead? Who knows?
I'm looking forward to the 80s 90s episode. There's an episode that looks very like Saved by the Bell, where her hair is up. So I'm looking forward to, because if they're going through each era of sitcoms. There is an 80s version or a 90s version, early 90s, that I saw in the trailer. So I am looking forward to that. I wonder what story they tell in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to the different music because, the different kind of songs that we've been hearing. We know that Kristen Anderson Lopez, who wrote a lot of the music for like Frozen, she's doing the music for this series, and like we've heard a lot of like the different theme songs, like TV themes. So I'm excited to see how those themes kind of evolve over the show. Hopefully we get like a Full House style theme or a Family Matters, that just that classic like everywhere, like it's the themes. I love that. Yeah. And I love Christoph Beck, obviously doing the score. He worked on the Ant-Man films. So it's great to see like a lot of MCU talents in here, and shout out to all the neighbors in this show so far too, because all of the secondary like members of the neighborhood have been a lot of fun to watch too, especially Kathryn Hahn. So
yes, everyone so far is really interesting. You're also kind of wondering what part are they really playing in here? Are these people that she's created, or are they actually taking place in a separate element of the story? Again, there's so many theories, and I would hate for us to actually figure out what is really happening by mistake. But I think this is such a fun show, and I'm loving the music, like you mentioned, Daniel.
Yeah, and I think we've been singing the show's praises. I'm really happy to announce that we are going to be doing a weekly review of the show. We're gonna keep you updated on when exactly that those episodes will drop, because we want it to be weekly with the show, but we also want to make sure you get a chance to watch the show in case we go into some spoilers with it. So don't worry, we are going to keep everything in line with what is on TV, so we can all enjoy those conversations together. I think it's safe to say for all of us, this is definitely a show you should be checking out. And as if you love the MCU, or if you're just looking for something new to watch, this is definitely a show that we could recommend. I think it's safe to say, right, guys?
Yeah, for
definitely.
Sure.
No, this is You have Disney Plus. Yes,
you already paid for it.
You already paid for it. My motto. You already paid for it, so you might as well watch it. And this is something to watch, especially if you're a Marvel lover. You'll love this story.
100%. And as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday across all your favorite podcast services. If you want to write in and be part of the show, let us know what you think of WandaVision once you watch it this Friday. Of course, the show is dropping on the 15th of January. The first 2 episodes will be out then, and then the following week, episode 3 will be out, and it'll be an episode a week, and it'll be 9 episodes total. You could follow the Movie Podcast on Instagram and Twitter at the Movie Podcast. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and join our Discord. We have lots of fun conversations in there. And of course, as always, the show notes for everything we talk about are in the show notes below. So make sure you check that out. My name is Daniel. I'm here with Anthony and Shay. And this, again, is the Movie Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
WandaVision. Oh, this is going to be a gas.